Well, Catie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
So excited to be here.
Well, I'm really excited to talk to you because I think you are doing some amazing work in terms of helping educate people in social media and just in general about some of the pitfalls of what goes on in the modeling industry, but also what women are dealing with as it relates to social media. So can we start first, though, before we jump into that? You are a model. How did you get into that? How did you get started in the modeling world?
Honestly, people have always told me you have a pretty face, but I've always been bigger. And being half Asian, Asian people are known to be quite small. Like they don't talk about bigger Asian girls, which they're out there. But I was always kind of a little bit more curvier. So I've always been, oh, you got a pretty face. You could model, but like never was a thing because I was always chunkier, you know what I mean? And I just never thought it could really ever happen to me. And I just happened to be buying a couch from a girl off of Craigslist. And that's how it happened. And she helped me. She literally was like, you should model, and here's how to do it. And I just followed it. And
was she a model herself, or did she work in the industry?
She was moving. So that's why she was selling her couch, that she was moving to New York. And I was like, why are you selling your couch? Because I was a publicist, actually. I was working at BET Networks. I was doing PR, and that's all I was doing. I didn't think anything of it. And I just asked her. And then she was like, yeah, I'm a plus size model. I was like, plus size model? Do you make money off of that? And she's like, yeah, I do. And I was a struggling student. So I was like, okay, like, tell me how to do it. And she literally told me how to do it.
I love that. Okay. So I love that. First of all, that's such a great story also because here's a woman that not to look at you saying, oh, you would be my competition, so I'm not going to help you with this.
Right. She's always been like that. She will help you. She's always positive. Her name is Danica. She has her own business, and she's always spilling the tea on everything and really helping because there's really room for everybody. She didn't look like me anyway, so it wouldn't be a competitive situation, and nobody looks just like you, honestly, and there's room for everybody. But yeah, she was really nice to even share that because people wouldn't even do that, honestly, especially in the industry. They will not give you a lending hand. It's very rare.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about the industry now. So we hear a lot about how women are really pressured to look a certain way, to be a certain size. Does that exist also in plus size modeling, that you have to be a certain size?
It does. So there are different types of modeling. There's editorial, which is what you see in magazines and whatnot. And then there's e-com modeling, which is what you see when you shop on, let's say, Nordstrom's, Nike, or whatever, and you're kind of shopping the clothes. Typically for e-com, you have to be a size 14. That is the favorable size for them. Height doesn't always really matter, like, because I'm technically shorter. If you want to go into the supermodel, where I'm not 6 foot tall, I'm like 5'8", you know what I mean? So you do kind of have to do that. And I remember I had lost a lot of weight because I was in this PR job, and not on purpose. It just, we were so busy, I would forget to eat. And I was about my smallest I've ever been, I would say a size 8, 10. And I had to wear actually padding to make myself look larger.
Oh, interesting.
So that was back then. And it seems to change in the industry. Like right now, I think that being smaller is a little bit favorable. So like maybe an 8 or 10, like they don't really want you to, like if you go to New York, a lot of the girls on their curve board are size 8s. That's considered
curve. Are you
curve.
kidding me?
Yes. And even that is considered curve. An 8, maybe a 6, anything like with hips or whatever, that is considered curve. And so that's kind of one of my issues that I have. It's because it's like they're telling girls to kind of yo-yo their weight. You know what I mean? And that's not healthy, And I just can't believe that a size 6'8" is considered a curve, even at 14, because the average size in America is a size 14. So
Yeah.
how is that even, considered a plus situation? But when you go online and you see that they're using what we call straight size models, and they're a size small, medium, and large, when you see, or they're actually a size small, but straight size means that they are fitting for people who are buying small, medium, and large. But when you see that they're a size 2 and under, I believe they're small. So if you take me, I'm plus, and you put my picture next to her picture, well, of course I look extremely bigger than her because she's stick thin. In reality, I'm the average size in America. So it's like, it's kind of, it's weird, but it's definitely hard. I know I have had great agents where they haven't told me too many horrible things like to change about my body. I think if anything, New York is pretty harsh. New York, one of my New York agents said, can you go to Pilates and just stretch yourself so you can be taller? And I was like, are you an idiot? Like, that's impossible. I am who I am. I don't think I can make myself taller. You know what I mean? But I've had, colleagues of mine that are in the modeling industry, and they've been told to get lipo, nose jobs, Botox, stop eating, like all of these things. I've just been lucky, and thank God, because I am sensitive and I'm a Cancer, and I would probably be so upset if somebody had told me anything like that. But I've been lucky.
Yeah. So body confidence is a very important conversation right now. As you mentioned, the average size of women in the US is size 14, but that is not, if you are a woman in the US, that is not what you see portrayed. That's not what you see portrayed on television. That's not what you see portrayed on billboards. It's not what you see portrayed in magazines, anywhere. So we grow up, or we exist, even if we're grown-ups, right? Thinking that we always think we're too big and we don't have that confidence. Can you talk a little bit about what are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome as it relates to building your own body confidence?
Right. I think, even my mom and my grandma before that, there's always been a thing about being skinny, right? Like that is a thing. In my family, we're actually all bigger women. So it's always the dieting and like how to do that, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that. And I don't think I'm the only one that's gone through that. And I think it's great that now there's an open conversation, but it's still really relatively hard to keep up. I mean, we have the Kardashians, and we can say, hey, thank you for bringing curvy in, but it's a little bit to the extreme of it's not realistic. And I know a lot of younger girls look up to Kylie and they think like that body is amazing, but it's not realistic. And for myself, growing up, I always was taller. I always was a little bit bigger than my peers. And it did get to me, but I just think for me, I just said, like, I'm not going to live like this, like thinking, like, I think I was in college and I was just like, or like my senior year in high school. And I just was like, I'm going to try. And what's the worst thing that can happen? You know what I mean? Try to be confident, try to be more outgoing. Cause I was relatively shy growing up because I just was so insecure about a lot of things about my body, being in a swimsuit with my friends and doing, anything. Like I wasn't going to get any guys to like me because I was bigger. And so I just think my senior year, I just was like, I'm not going to know these people next year. I'm going to go to college. And what do I care what they think? And I just was like, I ran for vice president. I just like was emceeing at our rallies. And then when I went to college, it just was a little bit nerve-wracking, but I just kept pushing the boundary. And I think that's when I overcame that and understood how to, like, confidence is a mindset. It's not your body. It's really about how you are as a person and being confident. It's a character trait. And I would really see, and I just remember the people that I were attracted to, they weren't necessarily like, as in friends and just peers in general, they weren't necessarily like the most attractive person or anything. They literally just would walk in the room and you just want to hang out with them because they were positive, they were sure about themselves, and they just carried themselves in a really, great light. And I just saw that and I was like, I'm going to try what they're doing and see if that works for me.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of the problem, though. It's so difficult for women, for girls now to overcome the scrutiny that they get on social media.
I really can't imagine it, because growing up, I
Mhm.
didn't have Instagram.
Mhm.
I mean, Instagram
Yeah.
came, and maybe this is telling my age, but I'm like in college. So
Yeah.
like, and
Yep.
it was more so Facebook than Instagram. Instagram is
Yeah.
really just a new thing of like, what, 5 years, 7 years.
Right.
And I talked to my fiance about this, like, dang, when we have kids, how is this, what are we going to do? And
Yeah.
I can't really imagine. And I think the best thing though is to try to teach your children and teach your sisters, whoever's going, like, just about confidence, body confidence, individuality, and being their most authentic self. I think that's really, I mean, I would assume like that was what I would do, is try to push that out, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
into my
Mhm.
peers, into the people I love.
Yeah.
Because I know how I am, and I'm
Mhm.
looking at this stuff and how I feel sometimes. And I can only imagine somebody who's, in their teen years growing up, because that's really where you're discovering who you are and what your morals
Mhm.
are, and what you want to be. And
Yes.
it's like it's crazy how those 4, maybe 6 years, because if you want to count middle school or whatnot, it's like true discovery
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
who you're going to be as a person.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that we've been talking a lot, even on this podcast. We've talked a lot about the effects that social media has had on adolescent girls in
Mhm.
particular. We had on a best-selling author, psychologist, Dr. Lisa Damore, and she talked about the fact that we've had this huge increase in cases of girls, adolescent girls, having issues, having eating disorders.
Mhm.
And they are linking it back to social media because you spend so much of your time and your social capital, like you're following, you've used that to help spread messages of self-confidence to young girls and women. Can you talk a little bit about what have you heard from, because you do spend time talking about this on social media, what are you hearing from young girls and from women about your messages, even what you've seen on social media?
Well, what's interesting is actually my demo is not so young as in teens. I have like early 20s into,
Mm-hmm.
I have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit an older group, and
Mm-hmm.
the messages that I get from them of like, I still get them daily. Like, you help me with my confidence. There's still people that are, I don't think it matters what age almost. I think
Mm-hmm.
as women, we're
Mm-hmm.
all traumatized
Yeah.
by these society standards. And, I am confident, but I am a person. I do have my days too, where I'm like, oh, I just don't feel good about myself. I don't feel pretty today,
Yeah.
And but I know that some of my followers kind of share my page with their kind of younger,
Mm-hmm.
family members, whether it's their daughters or sisters or their nieces or
Mm-hmm.
nephews. And I feel like, you know, that's why I feel like social media is it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. You know what I mean? If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be making these stands of saying we need more body positivity, more equality, more people of
Mm-hmm.
color on our campaigns and stuff. And so, but yet it has its negative part where, there's some influencers out there that are living a fake lifestyle to impress whoever they're trying to impress. And these younger girls are looking at that and saying, oh my God, I need that. And it's so
Yeah.
funny because I have my 2 cousins, they have daughters and they're in high school, and they came to my house. I get a bunch of gifted clothes and I just give it to them. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
best day they've ever, but the way
Mm-hmm.
they talk, I was like so surprised the way they talk, because everything is very sensitive. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I need to have this because I'm going to be cool. Like, I want your Steve Madden shoes that you have. Can I have, like, I need to have those. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
guys, it doesn't matter. Like, but for that, I'm older now, so I don't know what the high school trends are per se, but like, I'm noticing when I'm having these conversations with them is that like having certain things is very, very like
Mm-hmm.
they have to have it. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't have those things, you're not cool. And I
Yeah.
just that's
Yeah.
it's a big problem. And I'm like concerned for my kids, honestly, because
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought high school was brutal for me, but I didn't even have social media. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and so as someone who, you're a model, you've built a social following, you're a content creator, how do you deal with negative comments and attention that you get from people on the platform?
I ignore it. I block
Mm.
it and I ignore it.
Mhm.
I delete the
Mhm.
comment. I just ignore it. That's the best
Mhm.
thing you can do is
Mhm.
ignore it.
Yeah.
I've gotten so many fat comments or, you
Mhm.
know, throwing up emojis. I think I got one yesterday, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I get those all the time. You need to work out, throwing up emoji. Why would you do that? Like very a lot of opinions. But I
Mhm.
knew that taking this job, I knew that
Mhm.
when you kind of decide you're going to become an influencer, or
Mhm.
you're deciding you're going to grow a huge following, you're taking on that. It's a job, and that's one thing
Mhm.
that's part of the job is that you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to, like not everybody loves Beyonce, believe it or not. I love her to death, but I know people who don't love her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the analogy is it's like you just really can't care. You just got to keep going. If it's your journey and your destiny,
Yep.
you have to keep going and you just be you. And that's
Yeah.
almost in everything in life. Nobody, even in your own workspace, not everybody's gonna love you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing that's so hard though, because women, we seek to, women, girls, we seek to, connect with others, and we want
I
to
know,
connect with other people. It's
right.
so hard to ignore negativity when others are kind of pushing it at
Yeah.
you.
But you can't stop them. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yes.
But Instagram has these, I haven't used it, but I just was thinking about it when we were talking. You can block certain keywords out of people even commenting those
Oh,
things.
interesting.
You can block
Interesting.
people, but I mean, you're always going to have haters. Like
Yeah.
that's what they're called. They're haters and bullies and cyber bullies.
Yep.
And you're always going to have to do it. And I think that if I think you have to really know yourself too
Mhm.
as an individual. If
Mhm.
you know that you maybe can't handle those comments or do those, that you're crossing a line, maybe you shouldn't be on social media so much. I
Yes.
think as an individual, you have to know your boundaries and what you can take and what you cannot take.
Yeah.
And I think that's also a lot of our creators and our models and our celebrities actually being realistic about their lifestyle. It's
Mhm.
modeling is not glamorous. And I've told many people this. We have glamorous times, but it's
Yeah.
not 7-hour glamour. It's actually a lot of hard work. It's
Yes.
a lot of mental, you always have to be on. I can never have a bad day or the client won't book me again.
Right.
Um, so it's like,
Mhm.
it's not as glamorous as what's not, it's just not what it seems.
So, what are some of the ways that women can start working on having more confidence in their bodies?
So I just actually did a content piece about this, and I think one of the things is, you kind of have to be your most authentic self and not care what other people think. That is like
Yeah.
the number one thing.
Yeah.
Surround yourself with people that are rooting for you, and
Mhm.
only thinking positive things about you and love you for who
Mhm.
you are. Don't
Mhm.
surround yourself with friends or people who are just saying, "Oh, you need to lose a couple of pounds," or "You need to look like this," or
Mhm.
"You need to
Mhm.
do that." I think those are like one of the two really important things to kind of surround yourself with. And also, I think like wearing clothes that make you feel happy, being in, or it doesn't have to be clothes, whatever makes you happy and makes you feel confident, whether that's putting on a little lipstick or not, being natural, do things that make you happy that help with your self care.
Yeah.
And I think those are kind of like the good stepping stones
Yeah.
to
Well,
kind
and
of.
I love what you said before about ignoring, because I think, ignoring the negativity, because I do think this is one of those things, as you stated, there are people who are just haters. They are on social media. They love to rain on your parade, no matter what kind of parade it is, right? They are going to rain on it. That's just kind of who they are and what they do, and it's more about how they feel about themselves than you in particular, right? So I love when you said before that you just have to ignore that. I think the addition to that, and because I have two teenage daughters, that I like to remind them, and when things come up on with regard to social media, I try to always remind them that it isn't it's rarely about you. It's generally about how that
My
person
mom
feels.
has always said that to me. When
Mhm,
somebody's making a negative comment or a backhanded
mhm,
compliment or saying a sideways comment, any type of negative comment, it's because
mhm.
that's how they feel about themselves and
Right.
not how they feel about you. And they're trying to
Yes.
justify how they feel and put it
Yes.
on you. And that's 100% uh,
Mhm.
accurate in a lot of ways, you know? But
Yes.
I think it's not just social media that you'll have haters in. I think everyday life. You
Yeah.
don't have to be a social media star or be on social media to have a hater. You could have it at your workplace, at
Exactly.
school. You could have it
Mhm.
anywhere. So it's like, I think this is more so almost in a sense a common life skill to
Mhm.
know how to ignore it because you can really apply it in different ways,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that advice. So you are also an entrepreneur and you have an upcoming fashion collection that focuses on inclusive sizes and staple pieces. Can you talk about why you feel that clothing inclusivity is important?
Growing up, I think there was a little trauma for me because it was the low-rise jeans that really messed
Mm.
me up.
Mhm.
I used to
Mhm.
have to shop at the Missy's department to get jeans,
Oh.
and I was, like, in middle school, so that, like,
Mhm.
the word Missy's in middle school is, like, trauma, you know what I mean?
Oh.
And I think, like, I always wanted to be at Limited Too and stuff, and anyway, so that's kind of, like, where it started, and, I think as I grow older, I've always had to find tricks of how to find clothes and be fashionable, and,
Mhm.
I think it hasn't been just maybe these past 5 years, brands are just starting to add in these, extended sizing. So it's really important to me because I think if I had this growing up, I think I would feel a little bit different about myself. I
Yeah.
would move a little bit different. I think, clothing is a sense of expression.
Mhm.
And when you're limited
Mhm.
on your expression, then it's kind of like, it's a little bit tears you down a little bit. And that kind of
Mm.
affects your self-worth and what you feel about yourself and affects your confidence. It's like what we've been talking about like full 360 little
Mhm.
things about that you can do to yourself, whether that's cutting your hair, their clothing, or coloring your hair to express yourself is what's going to help you make you feel confident because you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
So it was really important to me. I'm collaborating with Amazon
Mm.
to do this little capsule collection, and I'm hoping for a lots more moving forward.
It's
But
amazing.
it was really important to me to kind of like start with the basics too, because
Mhm.
for the life of me, I can't even find a good shirt. Like a
Mhm.
good white
Mhm.
shirt mixed in with fast fashion and being plus size, it's just not there.
Yeah.
And so it's an honor to work with Amazon because I've gotten my samples already and the quality seems it's pretty good. So I'm pretty
Awesome.
excited about it, and I'm excited to kind of push out these staple pieces so that people can
Mhm.
have these pieces for a long time and kind of
Yeah.
mix and match, and I can help them show them how to do that. So I'm pretty excited about it.
I love that you explained the reason that this is important to you because I think we don't think about it that much, right? We tend to, and especially as you get older, you have a certain relationship with clothing. And a lot of times it's a traumatizing relationship. As you said, like you can't find stuff. So you don't use it as a way to express yourself. And as you said, this is one of the ways you can express yourself. Well, I love that. So, Catie, if people want to follow you so that they can find out maybe when the line is coming out
Yeah.
so they can jump on it, what is the best way for them to do that?
Instagram, of course. You
Mhm.
can follow me at Catie Lee. I spell it with a C, Catieli.
Uh-huh.
And I'm on TikTok too at officially Catie Lee. So you guys can follow me on those two platforms. Yeah.
Well, Catie, thank you so much for what you're doing to help educate women and girls, young women about the the different options that exist and different perspectives about how to view themselves and their bodies, and form hopefully a healthier perspective on that. Thank you. We thank you
No,
for
thanks
spending
for
your time
having
with
me.
us
It's
today.
always fun to talk and spread the word. So thank you.
We appreciate it.